Hello, welcome to Glen Canyon National Recreation Area and the DescendingSheep petroglyph panel located here on the Colorado River. The Colorado River is an alluring place. It has this essence about it, and that's captivated people for thousands of years. That evidence is standing right here in front of us as you stare at this rock wall. These images, these petroglyphs, have been carefully pecked over time into the surface. So the time put into that and the effort certainly says something about the significance of this place. As you look at the rock wall, many questions might be going through your mind about who carved them, why they carved them, what they mean. And I can't answer all of those questions for you, but I would like to identify who created those for you. 3 different groups of people are represented in the petroglyphs on this panel. The first would be the oldest, the desert archaic people. They were here for thousands of years, and between 2,000 and 3,000 years is the estimated time frame in which they put these images on the wall. They're done in what's known as a linear style. You can go throughout the region and find other linear style objects that have been grouped together because they're these box-like figures. These animal and human-like figures have these box-shaped bodies. So as you look at those images, one of the more prominent figures in this linear style is the desert bighorn sheep, what appears to be the desert bighorn, and those are certainly some of the big game in the area. They remain here today. In fact, right across the river from us are some big game trails that come down to the water, and frequently visitors on rafting trips and fishing and here recreating on the river like yourselves get to see these desert bighorn sheep as they make their way down those trails into the water. It's a neat sight to see. The desert archaic people survived in this area, in this harsh desert climate, by moving seasonally to follow food sources. So the bighorn sheep may have been one of their main food sources. Certainly they needed water to survive, and the Colorado River was able to provide that for them here. Stone tools were used by the desert archaic to of course, capture their food, and then they would move as different plants would grow in different regions and food sources would migrate from one place to another. They would do the same, and they would migrate to another area and maybe return the same time next year. Located more in the middle of the panel is the second group of people. So the majority of these petroglyphs that you can see were pecked into the rock by the ancestral Puebloans, and they have direct descendants alive today. The Hopi, the Zuni, and the Paiute are some of the descendants from the ancestral Puebloans, and each of them has a connection to the symbols that are on the wall here, and each of them has an interpretation of what their ancestors might have intended in leaving these messages behind. The ancestral Puebloans were building dams in these canyons long before anyone had thought of Glen Canyon Dam. They built smaller dams, earthen dams, and very intricate irrigation systems so that they could plant crops. Squash, beans, corn, even cotton were grown in some of the smaller side canyons within Glen Canyon. They used pottery to store seeds and collect water, and for many other uses. They also would use stone tools like the desert archaic. Homes, places where they had created communities, such as Mesa Verde National Park, where you can see the cliff dwellings, still exist throughout the region. We move to the third group of people, and that would be these petroglyphs classified as cowboy glyphs, and that's a name that park archaeologists have given to these. The people that left them may or may not have been cowboys, but during that same time period that cowboys were in the region, within the last 200 years, there were also pioneers and miners. So between those groups of people, and certainly within the last 200 years, those people that were all intermingling and in the landscape at the same time, Between those groups, somebody left some of their work to join these Native Americans from long ago, from thousands of years ago. They left their work on the wall as well. So that has us racing through time. If we've already gone from 3,000 years ago to 200 years ago, looking at the people who have enjoyed this landscape, just like yourselves, we can look at others, such as Major John Wesley Powell. He was an explorer on the Colorado River, and what an adventure for him to get to come down and map this area, study it, explore it. It was one of the last uncharted regions of the lower 48 states, so some incredible stories have been told through the eyes of Major John Wesley Powell and others that joined him on the 2 scientific expeditions that he went on, right past this very spot on the Colorado River. Mormon pioneers were here at the same time as Major John Wesley Powell. They were trying to find ways, after escaping persecution for their religion and moving westward. They made it to Utah. They began to filter through Utah and eventually encountered this Colorado River. What an obstacle for them to encounter these deep canyons and this river flowing past. And they had these big wagon trains and cattle to get through. And so they encountered this river and found ways to get across it and create settlements in southeastern Utah and also going down into Arizona. Dam builders and engineers also had a reason, a connection to this river, a reason to be here. Their connection and what they found when they came to this Colorado River, what captivated them, was the challenge, the obstacle of trying to harness, to tame the mighty Colorado and to give water and essentially give life in places where Mother Nature had not provided that before. So dam builders certainly had a stake in coming and exploring this Colorado River, finding a location that they could build what's now Glen Canyon Dam, and creating a reservoir to have a constant supply of water, even in drought times and seasons where normally there would be a very low flow. So that's forever changed the environment here, but that certainly is a connection that those people had with the Colorado River. And moving even further into modern times, we have yourselves that are here today as kayakers, as rafters. Maybe you're here fishing or just enjoying a day on the river. Whatever your recreation style is, you're here today. And each of you has your own connection, your own reason for being here, whether this is your first time or second time or 40th time, 100th time, however many times you've been here, you yourself have a connection to this river. And as we talk about these connections to the river, I'm intending to talk about the meaning that you take home, what you feel emotionally while you're here, what you think about. And a lot of times when we have those connections to a place, these wonderful experiences, we want to go out and we want to share them. And perhaps when the ancestral Puebloans, the Desert Archaic, the miners, cowboys, the pioneers left these inscriptions on the wall for us to look at today, maybe they wanted to connect with somebody in the future, to connect with somebody from their own time. We don't know what their meaning was. But what we do know is that when you go to share your stories, to share your experiences, you should do so in a respectful and a responsible manner. It's acceptable for the ancestral Puebloans who did not have a written language, who did not leave journals for us, who certainly did not have a lot of means of communication other than oral stories and these petroglyphs to tell us about their lives. They don't have those opportunities, and they are no longer the individuals that that put these on the rock wall are no longer here to tell us what they mean or what they're about or what they experienced when they were here. But you yourselves have many different forums to do so, and don't need to add your own marks to the rock wall when you're here. You can go home and email your friends. In fact, right here in this section of the canyon, it's common for many people to get cell phone service from their providers, and that's a rare thing in this remote location, but right here many people do. So you could very well be sharing this experience with your family and friends right now from afar. So to say that you need to leave your mark on the wall is not a very wise idea, because you have other forms of communication. You have many other ways to tell people about your time in Glen Canyon and why the Colorado River is so great, or it means this or it means that to you. One of the important things to take from this message is not that these ancestral Puebloans, this individual that did this, is more important than you as an individual, but it is to say that certainly we've advanced enough as a society that you don't need to leave your mark. Imagine coming to this place in another 10, 20, 30 years and seeing all of the thousands of names and comments and inscriptions from people, all the people that will visit between now and then. And that would be very overwhelming, and it would really reduce the significance of a site like this. After the construction of Glen Canyon Dam and the impoundment of the reservoir now known as Lake Powell, thousands of archaeological sites in Glen Canyon, like this one, have been lost over time. We know that through the impoundment of Lake Powell, other sources of damage and destruction, and just the remoteness and inaccessibility of some of these sites, that not very many of these sites are available to the public, like this one. So we want to preserve this and protect it the best that we can, because it's a relatively rare resource. And we want to be able to share this experience with our children and grandchildren. We want to act as stewards and protect it to the best of our ability. So thank you very much for visiting the Descending Sheep Petroglyph panel, and I hope you find the meaning that you're looking for in visiting here in the Colorado River. And I hope that this has helped you to find that and helped you to connect with some of these people of the past. Just remember, you're not the first people to walk in this area. You won't be the last, but each of us is going to take something very special home with us. You know, this Colorado River experience will go on in our hearts and in our memories, and I hope that you choose to share that in a responsible way. Thank you very much.